Hey, all right. So I'm live and I am one-wheeling. Woo! This is a lot of fun. We'll see how this goes. Might be fun for people to catch me totally biffing it and destroying my phone live. That would not be good because I don't have a phone case. Um, and yeah, but I do have Nexus Protect, so we'll be okay, hopefully. But I will be checking on comments and stuff, so if you have anything you want me to talk about, um, or if you want to see anything as I'm on my ride, then totally feel free to comment. But like, if you're here just to be taught about like how to do testing with React or something, this probably won't be the live stream for you. I don't know. It depends on what people ask. So I see Harry there. What's up, Harry? Happy to have you on the live stream with the Onewheel. It's a good time. Yeah, so I'm riding a Onewheel. You can just look it up. It's got one wheel, and it is a blast. I got this back in like October, I think. It was a present for myself when I did the testingjavascript.com update. My friend Dave Geddes got me, gave me the bug, I guess. He had one at React Rally and let me ride on one. And I was just hooked. It was so fun. And so I decided to get one myself, but they're kind of expensive. It's like $2,000. So yeah, I had to talk to my wife about it, and she said, well, I'll tell you what, if you finish, I'm at an intersection. She said, if you finish testing JavaScript then, and the relaunch, then you can get yourself the Onewheel. I said, all right, I can do that. And so as soon as I finished testing javascript.com, the update, then I got myself a Onewheel. And yeah, I've been riding it a lot recently since it's been warming up. If it gets too cold, then I get like my legs shiver, and it's like obviously kind of dangerous if your legs are shivering when you're riding on this thing. I thought Harry asked about bumps. Here, I wonder, I'm gonna flip this over. I wonder if this will fix. There we go. Because your comments are on this side and I don't want to cover up. Oh, shoot. Yeah, this isn't gonna work. Let me flip it over this way. Yeah, so Harry, oh sweet, I can move the comments this way, good. So yeah, Harry asked about bumps. It does not have any suspension. Somebody's got their camera and they're videoing me as they pass. That guy. Yeah, so it does not have any suspension, so you hit a bump and you are bumping with that bump. So that's fun. Okay, let me take a look to see if anybody's asked any questions. Electric scooter would be cool, Harry. I don't know if you can hear the wind, and I don't know if my Pixel Buds are picking up that wind or like if it sounds any good, so tell me if it sounds like super bad, and I guess that'll just be good to know, so I don't do this again, I guess, I don't know. All right, yeah, it is definitely better than the hoverboards. It goes way faster, so I can get up to, the fastest I've gone is 26 miles an hour. I think it was like 26.4 miles an hour, which is very fast. I do not recommend that. It's very dangerous. So yeah, always wear a helmet. Really important to do that. Yeah, you want to be careful. Let's see. How fast? Yeah, 26 miles an hour is the fastest I've gone. I was going downhill, and I think that it actually, like my battery, you typically shouldn't go 1 miles an hour. I'm happy to answer technical questions if people have got them. Do a flip. Not on this thing. Yeah, I can't even do a jump because it's just so heavy. It's got, both of the foot pads have part of the battery in it, so it's extremely heavy. So you would not want to do tricks or anything like that on these. My helmet is loose. You're probably right. I don't know. Like a couple falls. I don't know if the time that I was going probably 18 miles, really bad. It like tore up the entire side of it to ride all the way the whole day. And like 15 miles, maybe it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're on this thing, and that's about as far as it'll go on a single charge. And so like I had to stop, get it going again, but I had to ride 15 miles home with like a tore up side, which was not very fun. So yeah, anyway, I think I'll be okay with the helmet. How long does it last on a single charge? Yeah, somewhere around 15 miles. Let's see what my watch says. I've got 16 miles remaining. I'm at 90% charge right now. So yeah, a little over 15, I guess. Maybe 17 miles. Kent wheeled odds. That's right. Okay. Sounds like you're easy breezy. All right, that's fun. Where am I now? I am near, not super close to my home now, but in Utah, Pleasant Grove area. Coming up on Highland. It's a good place. I'm going over to what's called the Murdoch Trail, which is just a trail that's on a canal that they made a few years ago, and it's a very long trail, but it's super smooth, which is nice because the bumps and the lack of shocks on this thing. So that's where I'm heading to right now. Choose Onewheel. Nice. I love talking to developer friends with all these punny jokes. Any speed wobbles at that speed? Yeah, so if you're going super fast, wobbling is not good. You want to be really careful. It doesn't start wobbling or anything because it's a single wheel, and if you are straight on it, it'll just keep going straight. I don't really have any problems with it like wobbling back and forth. My biggest wobble problem is when I'm shivering because it's so cold. Right now, I don't know what the temperature is right now, probably somewhere around 67-ish Fahrenheit, and that's plenty warm for me right now, as long as I don't get going too fast. It'll probably start getting kind of cold toward the end of my ride today. So, let's see. Here we go. Now I am on the Murdoch Trail. I'll show you. Here it is. It's beautiful, nice and smooth. So, let's see, what else we got? 5G, no bueno for live stream. I'm on 4G and LTE, and I guess I'm hopefully doing okay. And it is a little bit more windy, so let me know if it's too windy for this to make any sense. YouTube is apparently not digging my live streaming. Oh, is it because the quality's not good? Sorry. If it's so bad that it's not even enjoyable to watch, then I won't do this again. Let me know if this is even. Oh, I guess I can watch it later. Anyway, is it hard to balance on it? Nope. I took about an hour riding around, and I don't have any trouble balancing. Like I can stop and just like stand still right on it. Whoop. And go back and forth and whatever. So yeah, it's a learned skill, but yeah, I didn't find it too hard. I was a rollerblader growing up. I did a lot of rollerblading, wore helmets a lot in that activity. And then I did skiing for a little bit, but I preferred snowboarding, which was interesting since I was a rollerblader, not a skateboarder. But yeah, then when I found this, it was just awesome. Where's my destination? I don't know. I should have shown you the temple, actually, because I live pretty close to the temple where my wife and I were married. And I could turn around and show you that. I'm not really going anywhere in particular. So yeah, I've got a destination now. We'll go see the temple. It's pretty cool. All right. Did you hit the skate park with it? I recall you were rollerblade pro back in the day. Yeah. So I have not hit the skate park with this, mostly because you can't really... so with the skateboard, you can do like kickflips and ollies and stuff because of just the skateboard's pretty light and you can like scoop it up with your foot. But this thing is super heavy because of the battery. And so, yeah, I don't, definitely don't hit the skate park with this thing. I do go off-roading a little bit sometimes, like on mountain trails and stuff. That's a lot of fun. I cut out for a little bit and then fast forward to the present. Sorry about that. Maybe, you know what is possible? I could have connected to a Wi-Fi, like Xfinity Wi-Fi or something. So I'm going to turn off Wi-Fi and just stay on LTE. There we go. You want to see it? Okay, here we go. Here, you know what? I'll just stop and I'll show you the whole thing. Whoop. So the way that you stop is you slow down to less than 1 mile an hour, and then you can either just jump off or you lift up your heel and it'll disengage because it has 2 sensors on this thing. So here, let me turn this around so I can see what you're seeing. So this is it. I've got my Andrew Yang sticker still represented. I have the data. Yeah, so I have these. This isn't all standard stuff. So this is a fender I bought. That was extra stuff. I have like this protector thing underneath, and these little wheels are called fangs, and I got those after I took that huge spill. That was just, that was awful. And so the fangs probably would have saved me, or at least helped me a lot. And then I got these extra lights for nighttime riding so that it's bright. Like, they have lights on the front already, and they're pretty good, but having these extra lights are clearly much better. Yeah, the pads are a lot smoother. The standard comes with really rough, like skateboard sandpaper type pads. And then the wheel, I actually changed the wheel out, and that was a nightmare. But the wheel is normally a super smooth thing, but I got one that has a tread. So, because I was thinking I'd do some winter riding, that didn't happen because it was so cold. So anyway, that's the thing. All right, let's see what other. You can ask me questions about one-wheel riding or whatever. I'm happy to answer like technical questions too if you want to talk tech. I'm just happy to be here, not totally by myself. And if I do biff it, then call the police, or not the police, an ambulance, and have them come pick me up on the Murdoch Trail. Just kidding. Okay. Yeah. So how I control it is I just lean the direction I want it to go, and it goes that way. So I can actually switch and go backwards, and it'll take me that way. So whichever way I'm going, or whichever I want to go, I just lean that way, and it will go that direction. So if you've ever ridden like one of those hoverboard things, it's pretty much the same idea. And if I'm not going fast enough, then I just lean harder, and it'll speed me up. So good times. I should tighten my helmet. All right, I'll tighten. You're the second person to say that. I'll tighten it. Where is that? There it is. Okay, hold on a sec. Whoop. Okay. Whoop. Stick that right there. You're probably saving my life right now, so I'm not angry. It is more comfortable when it's looser, but it's not very comfortable to die. At least that's my assumption. So probably wouldn't be comfortable to lose the helmet and fall on my head. So this is as much as I'm gonna tighten this thing. And kind of like software security, you want it to be secure, but not so secure that you can't even use it. All right, there we go. So that's more tight, right? Pretty tight. Okay. Onewheel? Yeah, it's a good. Nice. Guy's sitting on a electric skateboard. Okay. Tighten up for 2 fingers. All right. No, I'm not tightening it that much, Jack. Sorry. But thank you for your concern. I don't think this will fall off. I think I'll be fine. Okay. You're bored. All right, well, ask me a question. If it broke far away from my house, I actually have had that happen. Not really broken, but I ran out of batteries, and I was still like 2 miles away from home. That was not fun, because it is very heavy, and I didn't have a backpack or anything to put it in, so I had to carry it on my shoulder, and it is not very carryable either. So yeah, I did not have a good time that day, but luckily I was uphill, and so it has regenerative braking, and so when I got to a spot where I could go downhill, I got back on it, turned it on, and I charged the battery just a little bit on the downhill. That was okay. Can it handle uphill ride? Absolutely. This thing's a monster. Yeah. Didn't I make that smiley video in 2006? Yeah, I did, but it actually wasn't in 2006. It was, I can't remember exactly the year, but I uploaded it to Google Video first. And then when Google Video was phased out, I moved all my stuff, or the stuff I cared about, like the smiley videos, over to YouTube. And then it got ripped off, and the ripped off version got 4 million views. So, yeah, that was disappointing. I mean, it was not really disappointing. It's like, hey, that's awesome. A thing I made got a lot of views. But yeah, it was sad that my copy of the video didn't get that. So eventually, like, enough people asked me about it that I finally sent a takedown notice or whatever on YouTube, and they took it down. So part of me feels bad because I'm sure there were lots of links that were broken at that point, but now if somebody searches for smiley videos, they just find mine, which is fun. Where am I? I'm in Utah in the United States. Great place. What does the cold affect the battery, or does the cold affect battery life? Not that I've noticed, but I'm sure it does. That's batteries for you. So, yeah, anyway. Not sure if that's a pint or the big one. Will this pint still go up, be able to go up Utah hills? So this is the XR, that's the big one. And the pint is a little bit smaller, smaller battery, slower speed. So I think it could go up the hills just fine. But probably not, like, it's not quite the off-road monster that this thing is. So, are you a software developer? Then you get free t-shirts. Yeah, that's right. This was, no, this was not, no, it was. Yeah, this was commemorating, I think, 50,000 stars on GitHub for the React project. I can't, no, I paid for this. Yeah, I paid for this thing. The design was by, here, I'll show you the design because it's cool. Look at that. Beautiful. So the design was by Maggie Appleton, which might sound familiar to you. The design might look familiar to you because she designs, she's like the heart and soul of Egghead.io, testingjavascript.com, epicreact.dev, illustrated.dev, justjavascript.com. Yeah, Maggie's awesome. She's all over the place. So here's where I'm at right now. Pretty busy road. This is a cornfield. They make it a corn maze in the winter time or fall time. And then I'm going down there. You can't see it right now, but it's there's the temple that I was married at down there. So yeah, Maggie reacts potatoes. She is amazing. Sweet. Yeah. What else do you want to know? I can tell. Like, keep talking about the Onewheel, or I don't know. Do you want me to biff it? And that would be something fun to tweet about. I don't know. Just kidding. I'm taking a break from editing an Egghead video to watch Kent talk about Maggie on Egghead. Ah. Nice. What are you working on, Simon? It's good times. It's pretty windy for me. I should probably get off of the middle of nowhere. Speaking of your teaching, is your new testing course going to be on Front-End Masters? So I am planning on doing an update of my testing material on Front-End Masters eventually. I was planning on doing it in March, but the weekend where everything got canceled all at once was the weekend or maybe two before my scheduled time to go to Front-End Masters. So I told Mark, I was like, dude, I'm sorry, I just can't make that happen. And it turns out it was a good idea to cancel. But yeah, pretty disappointed about that. So still waiting on Front-End Masters to reach out to me and talk about whether we're gonna do a remote thing, or if maybe we'll do, I don't know, we'll figure out something. I know that they are doing remote stuff, so I would like to do a remote thing. That probably makes the most sense. But yeah, I'm planning on updating the testing one and the advanced React patterns so we can do some hook stuff. So that would be cool. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. No, you're good. Cool. All right. Alpine.js and Levity. Nice. I have no idea what those things are, but I'm sure they're awesome. So, I've been wanting to for so long. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic because I worked at PayPal for a long time, but I didn't actually build the platform. So people will say, hey, I can't access your course. Can you help me with that? And I'm like, yeah, actually I can't. I don't have any access to any of that, the platform stuff. Which is why I always tell people to go email help@testingjavascript.com, because that's where like the people who can actually help with that stuff. But yeah, so PayPal was just never on the list of things that they wanted to implement, and that's kind of disappointing. But it is what it is, you know. It is, from what I have heard, they are thinking about supporting PayPal. I'm gonna cross the street here, jaywalking on a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit road. Okay, here we go. But yeah, so I am planning on, or they said they're planning on maybe supporting PayPal for epicreact.dev. And if they end up doing that, then maybe they'd move everything over to that new platform that they built for Epic React. So then you'd be able to buy testing JavaScript. Sorry. All right, so here I am. This is where my wife and I, whoa! I almost took it off that curb. They do not have. That is not accessible. But my guess is, normally they don't expect people to go down this, and instead they expect them to go through that gate. But because of the coronavirus, oh, did I just get demonetized? Am I monetized? I don't know. But because of that, the double plus bad cold, as some people call it, or the super duper bad flu, or illness 19, all these YouTubers worried about getting demonetized. I just got a fly in my eye. Is it still there? Yep, there it is. Gross. Got it. Yeah, because of that, it is closed. So I won't be able to show you right where I asked my wife to marry me at this temple, as well as we actually got married here. But yeah, take a look at this. Isn't that so awesome? That's where I got married. Yeah, beautiful place. I'll take you around back to where I asked my wife to marry me. This is kind of fun. Am I getting into programming story? Sure. So, how I got into programming. I could tell you the long story. Shoot, I've got plenty of time. So when I was a kid, I made a friend who was into programming, and he was like super duper smart. Loved that guy. His name's Tyler. And Tyler wanted to make a game that would be like an online role-playing game that he could just, you know, have running forever, and people would pay money, and he would just like make money just for free, like a passive income. He was way ahead of his time. This is probably when, let's see, how old was I? I was probably like 14 or 15, maybe even younger, maybe like 13. But anyway, so he was building out the server, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he showed me like, yeah, check this out, I've got a server working. I can't get off of this curb, even something that small. Like, I could probably make it, but I'm holding my phone that doesn't have a case, so I'm not gonna try. So yeah, so Tyler was like, hey, yeah, you can help me make this thing. And I was like, oh, sweet. So he started teaching me how to use or how to program with C. That was what he was writing in. He's like, all right, so here's a number. He was showing me all the different data types. That's like one of the first things that you learn here. And he said, here's what a number is. And I said, okay, I get that. Here's a Boolean, true, false. All right, I can do that. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. That's where I got married. It's like right down the street from my house. It's amazing. I said, okay, I can deal with the Boolean. And then he said, here's a string. And I was so lost. It did not make any sense to me. I was super confused when he talked about strings. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, this is kind of beginner stuff, right? So if I can't get this, then maybe I'll just do like marketing or something. I don't know. So I didn't get very far in learning how to program at that time. And then, like, of course, I did do like make a web page and stuff at some point. I don't even remember when. It wasn't like a big thing. I used Dreamweaver at one point too, and you know, it was cool, but I never really got into it as a kid too much. I played a lot of video games. I made a bunch of like StarCraft and Warcraft and Age of Empires scenarios where you could basically program those things to do different stuff. All right, really quick, I'm going to take a break. You see those benches? Here, let me turn this around. All right, so that bench right in the center of the view, that is where I sat down and asked my wife to be my wife. I said, hey, you want to marry me? I want to be with you forever. She's like, hey, I want to be with you forever too. That works out. And we hugged and kissed, and I gave her the ring, and it was awesome. And then a few months later, got married right there. It was a good time. Yeah, so yeah, I did a little bit of dabbling and stuff, but never really anything serious. I made some, basically programming the game with scenarios and campaigns and stuff on my own. But yeah, never got super into programming as a kid. Then when I went to college, my brother went for electrical engineering, and I thought he was awesome. I super love computers. But as a teenager, I'd gotten really into making videos, and that's where the smiley face videos thing came from. I've got a ton of stuff. If you go find the smiley face videos, then that channel has a bunch of my old stuff that I made when I was a kid or a teenager, which is pretty fun. And so I was thinking I'd want to be a video editor, but I knew that like if I went into to school for like film or video editing, my opportunities would be like relatively limited, and I didn't want to have limited opportunities. So my brother suggested electrical engineering because that's what he did, and he's like, you could do anything with computers once you understand how they work, and like and you can do anything. So electrical engineering is awesome. And I was like, all right. I started with that at BYU, just down the road a few miles, yeah, it was all right. I took a couple generals that first semester, and took two electrical engineering classes that were programming classes. First was computer systems. We programmed in binary, machine code, or assembly, wow, I've got sprinklers. I'm off-roading it. Woo-hoo! I don't want to get wet. Whoa, that was close. We're gonna hit a bump. Good bump. Okay, so I did okay in the computer systems thing. It wasn't super interesting to me. Like, it was way too low level for me. I was like, okay, so transistors, yada yada. Where does this actually apply to something useful? And it was hard for me to make that connection and be excited about what I was learning. So the next step for me, or the other program, was Java programming, and that was a little bit closer, but our TA decided it was okay to teach us all to use Vim, and I stayed in Vim the entire year. I couldn't get out. No, just kidding. I could get out, but it was just like really hard, confusing. Finally, the professor was like, what? You're teaching these people Vim? What is wrong with you? And he got us Eclipse, which, was only a little bit better. But I mean, for the time, this was back in 2007. So there wasn't a whole lot better at the time. But yeah, so I did pretty well. I actually volunteered to tutor in that class, and yeah, I thought I did a pretty good job. I got an A in the class, in both of those classes. And then I paused school for 2 years to serve a mission for my church. I served in the Missouri Independence Mission, and it was a blast. Had a great time doing that. And then like life-changing, I can't do it justice, so I'm not going to try, kind of experience. And then when I got home, I was like, well, I guess I better take math and like stuff because I'm going to be an electrical engineer. But it'd been a long time since I'd done any math. It's been like 2 years from the time I left on my mission, and actually I didn't even take math that first semester. And in fact, in high school, I decided to not bother getting doing AP math or anything, like advanced placement where you can get like college credits, because I was like, well, I'm going to be doing math a lot anyway, and I probably will forget everything, or if I just get rid of that credit. So I'll probably want to take all this over anyway. So I had to take calculus, I think calculus 2, and but before that I took a refresher. That was like a half a semester, and I got a C in the refresher. It was like a half a credit. I did not do well in math. And I was really disappointed because I'd always thought, like, you know, I feel like I've got a pretty logical brain and I can think things through and whatever. Nope, that did not pan out like that for me. So, and actually, in retrospect, when I was in high school, I somehow managed to get an extra class or an extra hour of my class day free. So like I didn't have a class during that time. And I used that time to go to my calculus class to like a second time. So I went to my calculus class twice to get extra help. So I worked hard, but I wasn't good at it. I wasn't like a natural. And so like in retrospect, I should have known that this was not, like math was not my thing. And in any engineering thing, like math is kind of a big deal. So I was like, all right, maybe math is not, or maybe electrical engineering is not going to be my thing. And around with on my mission, I learned about nanotechnology and the cool things you can do at scale with nanotubes and stuff. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I decided to go talk to the, what was that? What was that major? It was in the Clyde building somewhere. I can't remember. But there was one professor I talked with, and I also talked to them about like my interest in energy, electricity, kind of like renewable energy, and batteries. That was also very interesting to me. That's always been interesting to me. Yeah, that just didn't seem to be a good fit for me. So I took a chemistry class and thought, you know, chemical engineering, that sounds interesting. Like I always really was, oh yeah, it was physics, whatever the degree for physics is. Yeah, the chemical engineering. And the other thing with physics that was interesting is when I was a kid, I played Roller Coaster Tycoon a lot. And one of the things that made me interested in Roller Coaster Tycoon was the physics involved in the game. I just thought it was so interesting. And I had a physics class in high school that I thought was super cool and interesting. And so I thought, yeah, physics would be fun. But no, that didn't pan out. Chemical engineering, I did so bad in chemistry. Balancing chemical reactions, wow, that is not fun to me. So I'm so glad that some people enjoy that. But boy, my wife actually, she enjoys balancing chemical reactions or equations. Yeah, not me. So yeah, that didn't really go anywhere. And then somehow, I don't even know how this happened, but my dad, he's been like an accountant his whole life, certified public accountant, does people's taxes. He's retired now. But he had his own practice, and somehow he convinced me to try accounting. So I was like, all right, I'll try accounting. And I took an accounting class, and I was like, you know what, I'm actually pretty okay at this. Like, it's not really hard math. It's pretty simple math, and like, it's logical, whatever. And so that's what I decided, okay, I guess I'll be an accountant. I don't know. I didn't know any better. So I finished that first one. I did pretty well in that first class, and so I switched my major into the business school. And I promise this is all coming down to how I got into programming. I told you it was going to be the long story. But yeah, so I took the second class, and I was already in the major, or not in the program yet. You have to like apply to get in the program. Not everybody gets in the program. And I had to take the second accounting class, and I did so bad, and it was not fun. I did not enjoy it. It was super duper not fun. And so I was like, oh great, well now I'm in this new major. I don't know what I want to do, but as part of taking that accounting class, here's where the programming stuff comes back in. As part of taking the accounting class, I also had to take, as like part of getting into the business school, I had to take information systems. And information systems, we made a web page, and we did some programming with Excel and Word and that kind of thing. And I was hooked. I was like, so wait a second, like these things that I learned a few years ago when I was programming, and I decided I never wanted to spend 8 hours in front of a computer programming. Those things actually were kind of interesting when you can apply it to some actual use case in the world, like solve a real problem. And so with that in mind, I decided maybe I should take a look at this information systems thing. That sounds interesting. So I did, I investigated it and found out that this is what I want to do. So I switched my major. Luckily, I was taking the business classes because information systems part of the business school, and so I'd taken the business classes that were necessary. That was the summer I got married to my wife. I got into the program. She married me before she found out that I got into before we found out that I got into the program. So that was faith right there that I would be able to be successful. But yeah, I got into the program, and then I was still not convinced I wanted to be a programmer though. So when I got into the program, I was and computers. That's like something with that. And during that summer, I decided I wanted to get a job that was like more aligned with my major, or at least like would give me skills. Because the job that I had at the time was there are computer labs all over the school where you can use a computer, and they have all this lab that nobody does to like clean things up and like help people if they have questions with how to format something in Word. So it wasn't exactly like, it was a sweet job, super cushy. I was able to get a lot of homework done during that time, but I wanted something that would be more applicable. And actually, I skipped over this, but when I was before my mission, and I just noticed a question about my religious faith. So I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I served a 2-year mission, and so before that mission, I worked at It's the NOC. I can't remember what the acronym is for, but basically it's the data center for the school. And so that was pretty cool. So I had like a job that actually gave me some useful experience, and that's what I wanted to get again. So the summer, or like right before I started into the information systems program at BYU, I jumped into, or I reached out to a company that I talked with, or like a CEO of a company I talked with, it's a nonprofit called the More Good Foundation. And what they do is basically just flood the internet with positive stuff about our church. And that sounded cool to me. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I want to like help you. I believe in your mission. I think it's awesome. So, and I want a job. And so they gave me a job. And my job was to rip DVDs, like church movies, from DVD. Permission to do this. This wasn't like, the company isn't a subsidiary of the church or anything. It was just like they collaborated with the church. So they gave us permission to just upload all of their content to YouTube, or a bunch of content. And so it cut me out for a second. Sorry about that. I'd started programming at school, and I thought, I could probably automate a lot of my job if I just take a little bit of time to write a program to do this stuff. And I found out about the Handbrake CLI, and I just automated ripping and uploading these DVDs up to YouTube. I learned about the YouTube API. It was all Java. I made a GUI for it. It was awesome. And that was, I think that, I still didn't believe I wanted to be a programmer, but that was when I decided, hey, like programming is not just like building a compiler. This is actually something you can use to solve real business problems. And I can do that. Like that's something I'm capable of doing. So I accelerated my pace at developing my skills thanks to this job that I have at the More Good Foundation programming. So, and like huge shout out to them for letting me take some time to like during work hours to like stop doing my actual job and programming my job away instead. Like that was awesome of them. So yeah, I was there for like, I don't know, like 9 months for the first 2 semesters that I was at BYU. And then I'll tell you the story how I got my first internship. So at BYU in the information systems program, and actually I noticed somebody asked me a question about my favorite information systems teacher. So yeah, my Bonnie Albrecht is awesome. I like Bonnie a lot. I'm gonna say she's my favorite. Yeah, okay, so when in the information systems program, getting an internship is like a really big deal. You gotta nail that internship, and you get it in like October for the following summer. And so like you barely started into this program, you have no idea what you're gonna do. Check this out, I'm gonna go off-roading. Woo! Hopefully I don't die. Da-da-da-da-da. This is so fun. Whoa, bump, 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 bump. I feel every one of those bumps. And I made it, nice. There's actually a trail that goes right up here, and I've taken it a little bit, but yeah, not all the way. Yeah, anyway, so I was like nervous getting my internship. Like I had no idea what I wanted to do. Nobody did. But we're interviewing at all these companies. I interviewed at like USAA, Walmart. I don't know. I don't think I interviewed at ExxonMobil, but they were there. Like we had a bunch of companies that always tried to like grab our students. So I interviewed at the church. They have a really big, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the church I belong to. They have a really big, like it's a huge church, like millions of members. And so, yeah, what is it called? They're in Riverton, the Information Communication Services, ICS. So yeah, and I did not get anything. And I was so bummed. And when I interviewed at the church, the guy I interviewed with was like, hey, I don't think you'd be a good fit for the job that I'm interviewing you for, but I think that you're an okay guy and should probably get an internship here. So let me see like if I can find anybody who's looking for an intern. And he found somebody for me. They interviewed me for a QA job to do quality assurance testing, or probably manual testing. And I got that internship, and I was like, okay, well, it's not exactly what I want, but it's an internship, something I could do to further my skills and make some money in the summer. And then that winter, like right before the end of the semester, we had what's called Intex. I don't remember what that stands for, but basically it was like you work in a group for a week nonstop, and you're like creating a proposal for like a fake company for like a software project. And so it's like super intense, lots and lots of work. And just to make it harder on myself, I guess, I actually built the software program that we were going to demo for them, or that we were proposing for them, like just a demo version. Just be like, so like here's a bunch of screenshots of like wireframes. Most people just did wireframes. I took screenshots of the program, and then I was like, hey, so here's an actual demo. I took a video, and they were blown away. And it just so happened that the one of the judges who was watching our presentation was from the church. And like we'd mentioned where we're going to be interning and our names and everything in the beginning. So he knew that I was going to be interning at the church. And he was like, no, you don't want to do QA at the church. You want to come work with me at the church because I want you as a software developer. And in fact, not actually a software developer. He wanted me as a business intelligence engineer, which is actually, by this time, I'd found out that was something that was really interesting to me. And so I was like, sweet, yeah, I'll be a BI engineer. Like, that's awesome. And so he pulled me from that other team. I like to think that he had to really argue about it, but I kind of doubt that. He probably was like, yeah, sure, you go ahead, take him, whatever. But so I ended up working on that team as a business intelligence engineer after spending all this time at the More Good Foundation working on these little software projects to automate my job. And I was learning about star schemas and normalized databases and unnormalized databases, and why we don't want a normalized database for business intelligence, because they're really slow and you want to have like super fast reads. You don't care about the data structure from like a consistency standpoint necessarily, because you're loading all the data in. So anyway, I mean, it needs to be correct, but it doesn't have to be. You can have duplicate data all over the place. It's no big deal. So anyway, I learned all about ETLs and stuff like that. But in the process of doing that, it wasn't like super the most interesting thing to me. And so my mentor, the guy who was in charge of me and teaching me all this stuff, I should not get on the sidewalk. I'm feeling every bump on the sidewalk. I'm gonna get off. He was teaching me all this stuff, and he said, "Hey, I wrote this program in Java. You program in Java, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I program in Java." He said, "Yeah, I wrote this program to automate generating reports and sending emails out to people. Can you help me with that? I've got some bugs I need to fix." I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that." And I fixed a couple bugs. And then I was like, "Dude, this is awesome. I noticed a couple other bugs. Can I fix those too?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And so my job like totally switched from BI engineer to like maintaining the software and making it awesome. And like, you know, at the church you have departments and then departments of customers of other departments. So different teams that were like my sister teams or whatever, they had their own clients, and they needed the same thing that we were doing, automated report generation and emails and stuff. And so they're like, "Hey, can we use that?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And they had different use cases. This is always what happens in software. Like new use cases come up, new requirements. So I started building in those things, genericizing our solution to make it work for everybody else. And that was my job for the rest of the summer. I had a blast. It was awesome. And actually, when the summer was over, my internship ended, they offered me a job to continue working while I was at school, because the place where I worked was, I don't know, like a 45-minute drive away from the school, and I lived in between the school and my workplace, so it actually worked out pretty nicely. So I commuted every day, and while I was in school for a while, and just worked on this emailing software. My boss at some point was like, "So, hey, like, are you okay doing this? Because like we hired you to be a business intelligence engineer, and you're not really doing any BI." And I was like, "Yeah, I actually kind of like the software stuff." And so we were talking about me switching teams to be on the software support so like there are lots of teams at the church, and there was one team that was like supported the business intelligence engineers with software, and so that was the team that we were talking about putting me over to. But by that time, I'd kind of gotten tired of, you know, faking my software job, and I also gotten kind of tired of making that big commute, and I wanted to get a raise. And so I was applying to other places, and like this is October time frame, and so I'd applied to other places to get another internship to have like an experience at a different company. And yeah, so sorry, I just got distracted for a second because my Onewheel just notified me that I have 50% of my battery left, so I better turn around and go back. But I'm already on my way home, so I'm good. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, so I was applying to get internships at different companies, and one company is called Domo, and Domo's a local company, and they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, like we could hire you as an intern right now. We don't need to wait till the summer." And I was like, "Okay, that's interesting." So I interviewed there, and they offered me better pay, and they offered me a quality assurance automation engineer position. They wanted me to test their REST endpoints, and like at this point, I still didn't know that QA was not what I wanted to do, which is kind of funny actually now. Like it seems obvious, like, oh, Kent's the testing guy. No, I never really planned on being the testing guy, and I don't think I would have a very great time as a quality assurance engineer. I don't mind building the tools that QA engineers use. Like that sounds interesting. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be like full on QA. But anyway, this was before I knew that. And so I was just kind of interested in working at this company. They seemed like a cool place. at the church I had to wear a collared shirt all the time. I didn't want to do that. And at Domo it was very startup type, like, you know, foosball table and beverages and snacks and catered lunch every day and dinner and all that. I never really had the dinner, but definitely took advantage of snacks and breakfast and lunch. But anyway, so I started working there, and it wasn't too long before the front end team needed a little bit extra help, and so I helped them out a little bit. I never actually got to write any tests for their REST endpoints, actually. It was too confusing for me because it was all in Ruby. I never had time to really learn Ruby well. Like, they never actually taught me Ruby. They just kind of said, here's the code base. And like, one guy showed me around the code base, but he showed me in Vim. So I didn't even know what I was looking at was a file system. Like, he was showing me around different files. I was just like super confused the whole time. And so, yeah, I started working on the front end. And around the same time, I was doing, at school, I was doing a web development class. And so I was learning about JavaScript. I learned that the $, is not like a special variable in JavaScript, but it's just jQuery. And like, there was just so much about JavaScript that was confusing to me because of jQuery, actually. I did not understand the difference between jQuery and the rest of JavaScript, and I was very confused. But eventually I figured it out. And I was working on a Backbone app. At that time, it was probably, I don't know, probably 150,000 lines of Backbone code. It was a pretty big app, like pretty ambitious for the time. This was back in probably, what was it, 2012 or something. You can actually, like, we've gotten to the point in my story where you can go to my blog, and I've written all about the last decade. In my decade in review blog post, so you can read about this stuff if you want to. That's interesting too. Okay, I just noticed a couple questions come in, so let me check out these questions, then I'll continue in my story. So, Node.js or Deno? Node.js. Deno's still pretty new. I'm a front end developer mostly. I do some Node stuff, but Node is not my bread and butter, not what I spend my time doing, and so I don't mind being a little bit behind the curve. If Deno's the cool new thing, then that's cool. I can't wait. I love it. But I'm Node.js right now. I understand you were using Angular 1 before. Why did you use React instead of the new Angular? That's a great question. My story will, I'll explain all of that. It won't take too much longer to get to that part of my story. Git question, my develop branch is ahead of master, and I don't want to delete the develop branch. Is there a way to reset develop to be the same as master? Yeah, so let's see, how would I do this? I would make a new branch and off of develop. So when you're on develop, you create a new branch called like develop save or something. And wait, hold on. No, you don't want to save the develop branch. You just want to reset it. Okay, so then that's actually easier. So you don't care about preserving what's on develop right now. You just want to reset it to master. Then what you can do is when you're on develop, you do git reset -- hard master. I'm pretty sure that'll do it. So yeah, have fun with that. All right, so let me get back to my story. I'll get to that Angular 1 question, Angularjs thing. So yeah, I was at Domo. We were doing Backbone. It was awesome. Had a good time. And this person's gonna let me go. So yeah, sorry. I was not talking about my story. I was at an intersection, and they were gonna let me go through the intersection. So yeah, I was having a great time doing front end with Backbone. And then, let's see. Yeah, I have a really cool hiring story. So I was still technically an intern. I didn't have a full-time job offer. So we had hack nights every night. Oh, yeah, so back it up. Before I got my job at Domo, I got an offer for an internship, and I accepted the offer at USAA, which is a bank for military service members. And so I was like, hey, Domo, I'm loving it here, but right now I've got this offer to go work at USAA for the summer. Can I come back and like jump back in where I left off? And they're like, yeah, sure. So it was a cool summer or whatever. It was not the type of company or the type of environment that I wanted to work in. Very like slow paced sort of thing. So I said no to their offer, their full-time offer, because this was my last. I had one more year of school and then I was done. So they were offering people positions for the following summer. And so I said no, and I was like, shoot, I've got a baby, one on the way, and no job, and all of my friends are getting jobs, and like there was a lot of external pressure to get a job, like super early, like the year before you graduated. So I was freaking out. And so I get back to Utah, and Domo, I reach out to Domo. I'm like talking to my manager like weeks in advance, the recruiter, and like I'm not hearing anything back. And so I just go into work like I've been hired, and I show up at the front desk and I'm like, hey, is Doug here? He was my manager. And they said, oh, let me go get him. And Doug was like, oh, Kent, hey, welcome back. I guess let's go get you a computer now. So I kind of hired myself back. That worked out nicely. That was kind of fun. And so I was working there, and I was worried that I wasn't going to get a full-time job offer. And I was I wanted to get a full-time job offer at Domo, but I didn't. At that point, I was just like, I just want to offer anywhere. So we were doing hack nights, and I was working on doing keyboard shortcuts in the app. And I was running out of keyboard shortcuts. So on like my off time, I built Genie.js, which you can still go, and you actually might have used before because that is built into Code Sandbox now. But I built this library, Genie.js, and it basically is like Alfred for the web. That's how I build it. But yeah, so I built it on the side, and then when I one hack night, I built it into Domo. I actually committed it to master. They took it out later. And then I demoed it, and it was awesome. I didn't win anything, except I won a job because Merrick Christensen, who is just an awesome person, he works for Webflow right now. He thought it was really cool, and so he called Josh James over, who is the CEO of Domo. Really successful CEO. He was the CEO of Omniture that was bought out by Adobe for tons of money. So yeah, he brought Josh over and was like, hey Josh, you got to take a look at what this intern did. And I was like, yeah Josh, this is pretty cool, and guess what? If you give me an offer right now, I'll accept it. My hubris. But he just like looked at me like, I can't believe this guy just said that. But and he was surrounded by a bunch of other engineers who were all over like, what's Josh gonna do? And Josh was like, all right, Ken. And he took a pen and a paper and he slid it over to me on the table and said, what's your number? I was like, oh shoot, I don't know what my number is. I hadn't thought about this. So I wrote down a number that I thought was reasonable. I later found out that it was not reasonable enough, but it was okay. It was it was really good starter salary, but I probably could have asked for more. And he called up, this was like 11:30 at night, and he called up the HR lady and said, hey, I want to hire this kid. Is that cool? And she's like, yeah, shut up. I was asleep. So yeah, I got hired, and if you go to my Decade in Review, I have a picture of that offer letter and a description of the story and stuff. It was, so fun. So anyway, around this time, I kind of skipped over something, and this goes back to the question somebody asked me about Angular 1, how I got into Angularjs. So before I left on my internship that summer, the company, or several engineers at the company, started talking about using Angular, this framework called Angular. We were using Backbone. And so I said, hey, I want to learn this thing. I don't want to come back from my summer internship and not know the framework that we're using. So I spent that whole summer learning Angular 1 and building stuff in it, playing around with it. I did a ton with Angular. Lots of side projects in Angular 1 that summer. So that when I came back, I was ripping and roaring with Angular like everybody else. So then, after I got my job and graduated from from BYU and went full-time at Domo, I started speaking at conferences and meetups and stuff. And actually, it was my first meetup talk was before I graduated. So I was starting to get involved in that stuff. But I was at an Angular meetup. Here comes another bump. This one's pretty big. Ah! I almost died. It was a pretty big bump. I didn't take it very carefully. I'm good. No worries. Yeah. So, I lost my light. 1 second. Gotta go back and get it. This light. Okay, here we go. It goes on backwards like this. There we go. Okay, and I don't want it to flash. It needs to be solid because flashing lights are super annoying. Okay, back in the saddle again. So, shoot, where was I? Let me just check comments. Have I tried Deno and what's my opinion? I have not tried Deno yet. Okay, anyway, we're good. GraphQL or REST API? I don't know. I think GraphQL is awesome. I love using GraphQL APIs. So yeah, sure, GraphQL. I've used REST a lot. REST is also, really, it's honestly just fine. There are very few apps that actually need GraphQL in my opinion. So, let's see. I was talking about, speaking at meetups and stuff. So anyway, I spoke at this one Angular meetup, and I gave a talk about authentication with JWTs, JOTs. It was a really great like demo and stuff. I thought I did a really good job, and that's actually how I ended up teaching on Egghead.io. John Lindquist saw the recording and was like, "Hey, turn this into a course, please." And I said, "Yes, please." And that's how I got onto Egghead. That was like transformative, changed everything. That was huge for me. So anyway, as I was speaking at this meetup, one of the engineers found out that I was looking for, or that I was kind of exploring other opportunities, because at Domo, I'd been working there for a while, and when I converted to full-time, I just noticed that I felt like the new guy still, even though I'd been there for like a year and a half, part-time, but like I'd been there for a while, and I felt like I was capable of doing more than they were letting me, and not because they didn't want me to do it, but because there were so many such like smart people there that all that was left for me was like the dregs. So I was starting to put out feelers. Oh, and I also realized that like, so the church actually reached out to me again, a different department, and said, "Hey, we want to, like, we're interested in hiring you. And like, here's the salary range that we're looking for this position." And it was like almost twice what I was making. And I was like, no way, I can't believe that I can make this much money. And so yeah, it kind of got me interested. I'm not like a money hog, but I wanted to buy a house. So, so I started exploring and looking, and the company at Task, they're now Workfront, but at Task at the time, they were sponsoring the meetup, and like they were the host, and good friend of mine, Matt Zabriskie. He said, "Hey, I heard that you're looking for work, or for another job. Would you be interested in interviewing at Task?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I did. There's these two girls sitting up on top of a roof outside their, like, I guess they have a window access to their roof. It was kind of dangerous, but it was like one of those awkward moments where if you don't wave, then you're like super awkward. So anyway, they were laughing. Anyway, so I was. They reached out to me, and then they talked to me. We interviewed, and it was like I had been working full time at Domo for 4 months, and then switched over to Task, and they were still doing Angularjs, and that was cool. I was like, I was on top of the world with Angular. Really enjoyed that framework at the time. So with that, I started working not really as an architect. I think it was like 1 or 2 steps below an architect, but I mean, I just barely graduated. but they trusted me with a lot of stuff, and they gave me 20% time to work on architectural problems. And I designed a path for them for getting off of some of their old infrastructure, not infrastructure, but like the old architecture onto like Angular with Webpack. And like this was very early days of Webpack. I may have been one of the first people to start using Webpack with Angular. But I was like, we've got to do this thing. Actually, Dave Geddes introduced me to Webpack with Angular, and that was awesome. So I worked with him at Domo. So yeah, I designed this plan for them, and then it wasn't too long after being there that I realized like I don't like working in Java projects, and like all of our stuff was served from Java, JSPs or no, not JSPs, but like we had a Java server that we had to run, and I had to work in Java a lot, and I didn't really enjoy that, and so I wasn't looking, but somebody actually at Task reached out or connected me with one of his friends at another company and said, hey, I think that you might be interested in this guy. And so they reached out to me and said, hey, we're losing our only front-end engineer, and we need somebody who's really, really good with Angularjs. It was like, I'm your guy. And so I got another pay bump. This was 2 months after I started at Task. I switched over to Alianza. I got a pay bump, and I was totally 100% responsible for this 100% client-side app. Nothing server rendered, and it was like so glorious. I mean, server rendering Angularjs was not a thing, right? So like when I say server rendered, I mean like the index HTML page wasn't even server rendered. Like I stuck that on a CDN, and I learned so much in the year that I was there. That was awesome. But after a year, and I did end up hiring somebody. They were awesome. Justin McMurdy, cool dude, really big fan, big friend. Actually, Chats with Kent, the podcast. If you haven't heard of that, go Google Chats with Kent. It's a podcast. Season 3 is coming out soon, and Justin McMurdy is one of the guests. So, and by soon I mean like next week or so. Like this is happening really soon. Season 3 is going to be awesome. I think you're going to love it. So yeah, so I hired Justin, and we were working together. It was awesome. But at some point, I just kind of wanted to join a bigger team with developers who'd had more experience than I did, and I wanted to switch from Angular 1 to React. So this is finally getting to that question that was asked earlier, why I switched from Angular 1 instead of going to Angular 2. So this was around the time that Angular 2 was, Angular 2 was supposed to be released for like 2 years or 3. But yeah, so this was around that time, and I actually spoke at a conference about Angular 2. It was Philly ETE, Emerging Technology in the Enterprise, I think is what that's short for. And so, like, cool conference. I spoke there. That was where I met Yehuda Katz and Tom Dale for the first time. Cool dudes. Kind of trolly a little bit, but like I'll tell you what, Yehuda Katz is a really respectful person, and a really fun person in person, especially. But yeah, I later worked with both of them on the TC39. Actually, yeah, Tom came, but Yehuda was there all the time. But yeah, so I was like way into Angular 2. In fact, I even gave the Angular team, I consulted the Angular team on how to do the Forms API. So the Forms API in Angular 2 was inspired by a library that I maintained called Angular Formally, which is a little bit of a claim to fame I've got on Angular 2, I guess. I also contributed to the Angularjs codebase. I think I did something with the injector or something like that. Anyway, so I was like deep into AngularJS. I was doing podcasts. I started Angular Air. Yeah, I was way into it. It made tons of courses about it. But Angular 2 was not changing the things I didn't like about Angular 1. one of the things I didn't like about Angular 1 was that like I spent so much time in the like debugging code in Angular, and I spent so much time learning Angular rather than learning JavaScript, and being able to use that knowledge elsewhere. So that was really frustrating to me. And so like earlier that year, this was when was it? 2015, I think. I'd started doing React stuff, like just dabbling with it, and it was like really connected with me. I loved how vanilla JavaScript it was. It kind of took me back to Backbone, except gave me a lot more of a framework type of or component model, I guess, that actually worked and separated concerns in a way that made sense to me. And Angular directives, I actually was using Angular directives as components. That's how I built everything before Angular.component had become a thing. And so that's kind of how I wrote Angular. So, and Angular formally, like a lot of my motivation and the API for that was just like, I want to get this stuff out of templates and into JavaScript, because it's just so much more powerful if you've got templates. Or if you don't have templates to deal with, you're dealing with just JavaScript. So that was kind of the motive for switching. I was like very into Angularjs, but Angular was not solving the things that I didn't like about Angular 1. And so I was like, all right, I'm jumping ship, I'm going to React. And that's when I interviewed at Facebook. I got an offer. I thought it'd be awesome to work on the React team, or really anything that gives me not my favorite. And Facebook, or moving to California and working in an office. I wasn't working remote full-time or anything at the time, but I kind of wanted to. And I did work sometimes from home, and I liked that. So I didn't want to move to California. And so my wife and I decided, no, we're staying in Utah. We've got family here and whatever. My wife just really did not want to move, and I wasn't super jazzed about it either. So we decided to stay. But around that same time, I was interviewing at other companies here in Utah. I did not get offers. I interviewed at Instructure and HireVue. And ironically, HireVue was probably one of the worst interviews I've ever had. The reason that's ironic is because they are an interviewing company. They create software to facilitate interviews. So that was kind of interesting. It was not a super great experience. Very like your typical trick you interview kind of thing. Whereas my Facebook interview was very practical. Like, hey, we've got this actual problem. How would you solve this actual problem that we've got? And so, yeah, it was just way more practical. And so it was just kind of funny. But yeah, I didn't get an offer at either of those. But then I did get an offer from PayPal. So the PayPal story goes like this. I was tweeting about object spread, the syntax, and I was like, this thing's coming and it's going to be awesome. Too bad that I am using Angular instead of React, because like with React you can spread props and stuff and you're using like regular JavaScript. With Angular you don't use regular JavaScript as much, so I probably won't be able to use this. Like, summed up into 140 characters, because that's what we were doing back then. And yeah, so I ended up I tweeted that, and then James Charles replied to that, and I met James at React Rally. So I'd gone to React Rally before I was doing React. And so we met there, and I actually wanted to meet him and Jamin Ferguson, because I'd heard Jamin talk about ESLint on the JavaScript Jabber podcast, and I was like, Jamin, he's awesome. Like, that episode was just, he was so energetic and fired up, and I thought ESLint was the bomb. And so, yeah, I wanted to meet Jamin, and I met Jamis through him. And, so then Jamis replied to my tweet and was like, hey, I mean, you could come work at PayPal and use React and use this cool spread syntax. And it was like, yeah, not if I have to move to California. And then he DM'd me and was like, actually, we might be able to make that work because Jamin already works from home in Seattle or like Portland. I was like, oh, okay, you got my attention. And so I flew out there, did the interview. It was very similar in many ways to my Facebook interview. Got the job offer, and and then I worked at PayPal from home full time. It was awesome. So anyway, that's a long answer to the question how I got into programming. I guess I could keep going. I worked at PayPal for what's my battery at actually? Oh, 37%. I've still got 7 miles. We're good. So when I was at PayPal, I started on the cross-border team, worked on cross-border payments. So if you send money to a friend in Germany or Spain or somewhere across borders, then you're using code that I wrote, which is pretty fun. Hopefully they haven't had to rewrite everything I wrote. I think they're probably still using Glamorous. That's where I created Glamorous, was on that project. And Downshift. I'm pretty sure they're still using Downshift. That's where I created Downshift. I can't remember. Did I? Yeah. They're probably still using React Testing Library too, because that's awesome. Quick question: does Epic React include suspense? Yes, it does. With all the proper disclaimers of like, this is super experimental and it's very likely to change and whatever, but still fun to experiment with for sure. And what else did I do at PayPal? I worked on a cross-border team with Jamin and Jameis, and it was awesome, and then they left me, and I was by myself on this team for just I think maybe 2 or 3 months. Mostly by myself. I had a sister team that I worked with that we were all in the same app, but I worked on my own kind of thing on cross-border. It was awesome, actually. It was kind of pretty cool. I was working from home anyway, so the only one working remote so it was okay to work by myself. But yeah, we brought some people over from other teams, and then and then I ditched and started working on what did I start? I guess I was on that team for quite some time, and then I went to the special web platform team for consumer, so all the consumer products that you were probably using, so somebody just asked me a question about advice for how to write a resume that stands out, and also doing job searches. Yeah, so I don't really have a lot of great advice, I'm afraid to say. My resumes, I haven't done anything with a resume in a few years, and my resume was never super awesome, so sorry. My goodness, there's a party going on here. They are not social distancing, that is for sure. But so I switched to this kind of secret web platform team, and then eventually that team got kind of made into something real that was all of, I think it was all under Bill Ready, I can't remember, but we covered half of PayPal, and then eventually we covered all of PayPal, all UI development. We worked on tools for them at PayPal. It was awesome. I built PayPal scripts. That was fantastic. They're still using that heavily. Pretty much every client-side app at PayPal is using PayPal scripts, which had a server element for server rendering and a UI element with React. It was awesome. And then I also, right at the end there, I started working on what was it? PP React? I know it sounds silly. So let me show you this. This is my neighbor. They have Christmas lights on all year round, and they're always doing some funny, cool stuff. And they do have music. They have an FM transmitter, and they play music, and their Christmas lights go with the music. It's awesome. My kids love it. Question, does it have the same or most content with your course spent on Naked? Yes, it actually is pretty much like mostly the same. There are some differences and actually some differences that I haven't finalized yet, that I'm making just to make the exercises make more sense. And that's the other thing, is that it actually is exercises rather than just videos. So Epic React is going to be so epic. You're going to learn better than anywhere else that you can learn React. It is. I'm so excited about it. I cannot do it justice just talking about it. It's going to be so good. Like so much stuff. Start from I know nothing about React to I now know Galaxy Brain. React experience is going to be awesome. What do you think are the key pillars of a successful open source project in terms of adoption, idea, inspiration, and anything else? I have a talk about managing an open source project that might be interesting to you. If you go to kentcdodds.com/talks and look at managing an open source project, then you can watch that for ideas on that. As far as expounding on what's in there already, yeah, key pillars, community, huge one. Like people underestimate when you start creating libraries, you underestimate how valuable having a good community is, or like focusing on community is. So yeah, that's a big one. Okay, so another question: have you tried electric skateboard, longboard? What do you prefer? I've actually never done an electric skateboard, and I don't know why I would. This thing's awesome. So yeah, anyway, so let me get back on track where I was. So I created PP React, PayPal React, that was our component library for all of the shared components. We actually had one sort of that was kind of cobbled together with our existing CSS framework that was based on Bootstrap. It was okay, but I saw a lot of areas for improvements, and so I started creating my own thing, and then we made it official. And now they're still using it. That's become the official component library at PayPal for React components. So that's kind of cool. And then I left. I went full-time teacher. So that's my life story. There you go. I'm actually gonna wrap up here. My feet are getting tired. I've been live streaming for almost an hour and a half writing this thing. It's been a blast. Super fun. So I hope you had a good time. I don't know if I'll ever do this again. If you think I should do this again, give me a thumbs up or whatever in the comments. Yeah, it actually is kind of fun to do this and like not be all by myself. Normally I just listen to a podcast or music or something. Yeah, it was a good time. I'll answer just the last couple of questions. Did you work with Jack Dorton at PayPal? I don't recognize that name. But it's very possible I did. What you refer, function component or class component? Or prefer, I'm guessing. I prefer function components, absolutely. I haven't written a class component in a long time. Double thumbs up from Yash. All right, Yash. I'm not sure what else I'll talk about. I just told you my whole life story, basically, in regard to programming. Still have plenty of things to talk about. Who am I kidding? I'm a long-winded fellow. So anyway, this is a good time. Thanks everybody, and yeah, hope you all are having an awesome evening or day or whenever it is. Be sure to grab a testingjavascript.com license before the sale is over, and we will go learn testing. Okay, see you later. Oh, quick, you should make a video of you racing yourself on the Onewheel. Racing myself? I don't know how I'd do that. I mean, go really fast. I thought that was a dab, but it's elbow comp. That's funny. I like that. All right, cool. Peace out, everyone. Dab. We'll see you later.